So you raised money on the
day.
on the day of the summit. That's great to hear, because I was wondering if these pitches really help anyone.
I didn't raise money because of the pitch. I raised money because the pitch put me in a mental state. This was like, I tanked it on the stage. Nobody understood what the hell I was saying. On the stage, I said we're a fashion company.
Yeah,
It's actually a coding company.
it's good. It creates like
but
irritation.
and I didn't, but nobody really like it anyway. So it didn't stick. Got off the stage, realized it was a total that didn't work. The guy that was my right hand at the time was super furious because he had built me this pitch, like the problem, lose on, blah, blah, blah. It just doesn't, I was like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I have to do something else.
Okay.
So he was furious and the company was totally broke. And I was like,
what year are we talking about? Was it last year?
So that was, I think, 2017. That was like the last proper pirate before the whole COVID disaster hit.
Okay, I see. Mm-hmm.
So I was totally broke. I had to come. I needed money like 3 months from there.
Yeah.
Or this show was gonna kind of get really hard, and I had not done enough to like. Now eekual is really solid because there's like, it's not. There's a lot to show for the work that's been done, and lots of things are happening. So if you run out of money, you can just kind of always borrow it somehow. Like you keep it really clean, and you can always make it. So we're very, very good now with respect to survive, not survive. At that point in time, it was like there was nothing to show. I was a crazy man. Nobody believed me, and I had no fucking money.
Okay.
And there were the people, and I had just blown a pitch, and I was like, I will raise money now. So I just went and just met like every investor one, and I'm like an autistic dude. It's kind of hard for me to be social, and I was just like, "You're gonna be nice and go meet investors."
Successful.
Yes.
And was it the same product idea back then that you have right now, or did you
always
pivot over time?
No. There's only been one pivot, which was to say that we make AI, which is actually not a pivot. That's just a change in rhetoric.
Yeah.
So our only pivot has just been to be more clear about what we do. Was probably a failure. I'm a guy that's very careful about to talk how crazy I actually am thinking, because it can be a lot, right? So if I would have started in 2016 or 17, whenever we started, I didn't have to check the books. When we formally started the project, I didn't say I was going to build an AI. I said I was going to build empathetic sneakers. So I was going to make a platform that can use an app to make a perfectly fitting pair of sneakers. I can prove this technologically, and we can sell these and make a lot of money.
But
that's how I started.
From the start.
That is to do that, you're going to have to run AI. And I always said that I'm going to have to build an AI, or someone is going to have to build an AI, and that was kind of always in the plan. And then we built it, and then we. And then I called it evolution, because that was before OpenAI had come out. So it was before, like, no one, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but previous to OpenAI, only a very rarefied set of developer geek heads actually had any idea who OpenAI was. That Elon Musk had dumped a bunch of money, and his buddies had dumped a bunch of money into this thing. And it was just kind of crazy land. And so I learned not to talk about that. And then OpenAI came on board. Now I'm talking about the only time we really we started out as a company that makes fashion by making empathetic, by using the product to understand what a person wants, making it for a person, and then following them and using that as a way to learn, right? Which is a completely new economic way of thinking about things, and we kind of started to talk about that then. We didn't call it AI. Then OpenAI hit, and then I got and then we had another fundraising catastrophe where a company, GC, they used to be in Dusseldorf, they were supporting us, and they just kind of imploded, and there was $200K on the table was supposed to come into the bank, and then they just imploded. We got, instead of the check, we got the bank, the bankruptcy notice. Like, these people officially are declaring from the lawyer that they can't pay their bills. So if you have outstanding bills, plan to wait, because it's not going to get paid. So we inherited like $50K extra debt from them that they hadn't paid, which came back to us, minus the $200K. That was last year, about exactly 12 months ago. And about the same point in time, we had just rented this place, so the bill had gotten more. And then I got in a fight with my best friend, who he was just here. Got in this huge fight in the bar where he was telling me some really stupid, like one of these really stupid AI deals. Like this stupid AI thing. AI, yeah, it's so cool. And it's just like, that's fucking moronic. It's just like, one, it's not AI. 2, it's a stupid business proposition. 3, even if it were to work, it's completely grabbable by any AI whatever AI they're using as the back end. It's going to get wrapped into it. It's just dumb on every side, and it's not AI.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, why do you know so much about AI?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Why do you know so much about AI? You never talked about AI. I like talk about AI or something." No, dude, I built the generative AI. It's like, what? You built are you fucking kidding me? And he spits his beer out on the table. You're telling me now that you built a generative AI?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I built. Like, what do you think this thing is that I'm wearing around? That's exactly how you query a machine, and the machine gives you an answer, and then you generate an agent, and then you test against the agent, and that's how you build generative AI. There's very few of them. I'm one of the few people in the world that can actually talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then chaos ensued, and we got in a big fight. Glasses were broken. There was slamming of doors in a public space. It was really ugly. And the next day I talked to Max, who's my partner. He's like, yeah, I was kind of waiting for you to kind of deal with that.
Yeah.
That you're going to have to say that because that's where we are. And then we published in February. So we just kind of rebuilt the company around, and it's rhetorical. We just said, okay, it's not empathetic products to make a perfect sneaker. It's a generative AI. What we're actually really good at is solving these. We made an AI that makes physical goods, and that's by definition agnostic thing. So we can continue to make better sneakers, which we will, and we'll start to, and we can make other clothing, and it totally changes the way the business model will look. So let's just look at that. And so we published to our old investors and to the world on February
This year
of this year, which I don't know how PC this thing is. I call it the night of the big shits because I had to go to the bathroom like every 10 minutes, and it took us until like the morning to actually say hit the button because it was so hard for me personally to say we make generative AI because I knew that would just like you can't say that, right? From the middle of Ehrenfeld and a little like that's a big deal, right? So we published it, and then 2 weeks later we got scraped from some guys that have a show in they do kind of traveling generative AI / AI community trade show thing, and they had one in San Francisco, and that's like just on the other side of Palo Alto. And they called us to see if it was real, and then Max talked to them, and they talked to me for a little bit, and then they kind of did their like, holy shit, that does work. So then they actually invited us to come be the curator of the generative AI stage, the moderator. They asked Max to moderate the generative AI for 2 days.
Yeah.
So then from like a month later, from saying that we make generative AI, we all flew to San Francisco to go to the beating heart of large language model AI and explain to the large language model AI what is when AI makes things, right?
I see.
And that was like
What a journey.
It was really fast. And now from that, then a guy from San Francisco who's he writes the AI index from Stanford.
Yeah.
That's his thing. He's been doing it for forever. His job is cataloging and explaining to the executives and big decision makers of the world what is AI and what's going to happen. Like literally, so he's walked out of the house of the premier of Sweden, I think it was, to sit down at a coffee shop to have a Skype call with us to talk about what we're going to do next with respect to going to San Francisco and raise money. So because of that, this guy came on board. Same thing. Talk. What is it like when you say you make AI? It's a pretty heavy statement. What are you saying? I explained it, and he called back 6 weeks later and said, "Could we work together?" And I said, "You mean I'm going to pay you equity in my company and you're going to help us raise money in San Francisco?" He said, "Exactly. Yeah, deal. Next." So that's kind of where it went from the night of the big shits.
Nice.
And now you
And
guys
now
are
we're
here.
here.
And now you guys are here.
Now we're here.
It's quite fun, and I'm happy to talk about whatever. So that was the really big pivot was just to change just to be more clear about what we're doing and actually up the balls, not down it. If that makes any sense. You have to be and it turns out that was like a big lesson for me because it's really hard for me to say like I want to do this instead of saying well, first I'm going to do this. Watch this magic trick. I'll do this magic trick. And that magic trick.
Yeah.
And these 3 things added up. You add it up for yourself. It doesn't work. You have to say these 3 magic tricks add up to that, and that's what we're doing.
Okay. So
That
let's
makes
talk
sense.
about what you're
Yeah.
actually doing.
Okay.
We're here in Cologne-Ehrenfeld.
Cologne-Ehrenfeld, yes. We are together with William. We
Yes.
met William at the Pirate Night this year. Quite funny.
Late
evening.
evening in Odonian.
Yeah, in Odonian.
Pirate Summit is always a challenge to drink less than you.
Yeah, but
are
what
drinking.
happened at Pirate Summit that stays at Pirate Summit, and
Yeah.
now we are. It's another day. It's a couple of months later, and I found it like our discussion. I found it very very interesting because I don't know. You're a designer, as far as I remember.
By training, I'm an architect. I work
You're
as
an architect.
Yeah.
You love design. We were talking about design patterns and
Your design project. I think you have like a furniture generation machine, which I found really interesting.
No, I built my furniture in the
Okay.
past, but you showed me because like I'm building like kind of cubes
Yeah.
things, and you showed me
the
the
modulator
architect.
I told you about.
Yeah.
Did you check that out? No.
No,
Yes.
not yet.
You should check it out. Modular.
Okay.
Like what we said.
So, tell us more about yourself and
What we're actually
where we are, because
I
Where
see
are we
kind of
now?
a workshop when I look behind you, and there's a lot of tools. What are you doing here?
Me as a person, I'm come from the tech world, from the architecture side, which is the design side. Basically, what designers do is solve people's problems for them by listening to what they want.
Mm-hmm.
The best designers are the best listeners,
Agree.
by far. Yeah. And then after the best listeners, then they're the best communicators, right? Of what that possibility can be. And then comes the design part. And when you have like somebody can actually creatively exist inside of that environment, then you get the super geniuses, right?
Mm-hmm.
My problem was always that I was not maybe the best communicator and maybe not the most empathetic, but really good designer. Yeah. So then I turned out I don't want to do architecture anymore because the whole human part is really, really hard for me. But guess what? There's machines. So it occurred to me at a certain point in life that you could, and my friends tend to be techies.
Yeah.
And I was learning about, and I wrote my own webpage, and because I was at the time of my life, I was in Barcelona, and I wrote a webpage because I was frustrated with the guys who were building it for me because they kept on telling me it wasn't possible, but I wanted, and I could see it on the internet. And I'm like, so it is possible because that's just code, right?
Yeah.
So if it's coded, it's on the internet, it is possible. Screw you. So then I went to W3 schools, I think it is, and I just just trained myself how to write JavaScript so I could do my own webpage because I just had it. And that was my first code experience. Oh, this is cool. Because I could do all the things.
Yeah.
I could do the things that I could do the things that designers do all the time, which is logic. Do it in this logical space,
Yeah.
and then query. And then I hit Hello World. That whole Hello World blew my mind. It was just like I went into Zombieland for like 3-4 days with Hello World, just because it's an object. You're going to call this thing up based on a query, whatever you want to do to trigger Hello World, and then it can you can also make it dependent on what happens next, right? In this reality, it was only digital at the time, but it's like, holy shit, you have a query machine, you have an empathy machine, you have an empathy engine. You can make this thing do so many other things. So I put it on like, random floors, spaced, if the person doesn't do anything for the next 20 seconds and it starts to make more and more angry responses, or play a sound, or start to track around the screen and do all this stuff, and then just leave it and see what my girlfriend would do or my wife at the time. And so that was the beginning of me as an architect going, holy shit, that query and communication, or empathy and communication, you can actually build machines to do that. Right? So which is actually AI, but I didn't know that at the time. I was just like,
I see.
And then fast forward, there's a point in time in Hong Kong where I was standing on the street because I wanted to learn how to do standing on the street selling tea, teach myself how to do business and understand what a product is and how people perceive a product. And then I learned that in terms of a product actually is kind of philosophy at the same time. A product exists in the mind first and exists as an object after the purchase has been made. it's really important to understand this, because the first thing you have to do if you want to sell, you have to convince a person that the potential utility that they're going to get by giving you their money exists, right? And that's a mental object,
And
right?
you're talking about physical products.
I'm talking about making physical products.
Yeah,
So I was standing in the street in Hong Kong selling tea.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to teach myself how to sell physical goods.
Yeah.
And specifically tea, because I can't design it.
Yeah.
So I've eliminated my ability to affect the good, right?
Yeah.
Because I go through life making these experiments.
Okay, I see.
So that experiment was kill design, stand on the street, sell tea, right?
Yeah.
I can't change the tea, but I can change the packaging.
Yeah.
So I started to sell tea, and then I understood, it's people are buying what they think they're going to get, not what they're getting. Me, as a designer, I'm only thinking about what they're going to get. I'm obsessed with what they're going to get. It has to be perfect. But they don't know that. They just think what they're going to get. And they check to see if what they think they're going to get matches what they thought. It's very different than what you actually did. And you have to plug into that.
Yeah.
Then you can make a perfect product.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So while standing tea, I understood, holy shit, I have to understand what they think they want. I have to give them what they think they want, and I have to look and see if they got what they thought they want, right? Not what I think they need, what they want.
Yeah.
And that loop, right, actually what defines the physical good in a perfect world. That's actually business.
Yeah.
And then because of Hello World and that whole experience, and because I'm a designer, I know about machines, and I got a bunch of friends that know about all this stuff. It's like, holy shit, what you can do is something called empathetic products. And I had this so we're sitting in that, right? With respect to Long, I'm sitting in an empathetic product machine where we're sitting in an empathetic product machine. What is that? That is the understanding of a product is what a person wants in the mind, right? And then when they buy it, you need to deliver that to them. And you can query that to see how well you. Now you can build AI coding, turns out, right? You can do that very, very efficiently, right? And you can just make that whole process of empathy, communication, production, query, empathy, communication, production, query. You can automatize that. So you can do the thinking part, what humans normally did. You can make machines think about that and do that in real time. That's where we are now. So this is a production facility that has a presentation on the internet, which is very rudimentary. It's very protein, bacteria. A person buys a product that doesn't exist. Then they point a camera at their foot, and we take photographs. And we send that to an AI, which we built, right? This is the generative AI part, which is super crazy. We can talk about that in a second. And it configures, or it gives a response, which is, given this design, which they bought, the most perfectly fitting sneaker would be this. It changes every time it runs. There's fuzziness, but it's consistent enough. Correct 150 times so far in real things. And then you put that on a person, and then you check if the assumptions of the AI was correct, given the constraints of what the AI needed to understand. So it's just still very, very, very grasshopper brain. Can get much more powerful. But at this point in time, that machine sells something. First, it sells something the person wants to buy, object of the mind. Then there's some more empathy, the foot, right? Then there's a configuration and a build of a product for the person. And you're going to send that to the production. Production is basically all the things which normally would be run by a human or not. They're run by the AI. And then a product is generated. The person gets it. And then we get to check in terms of emotionally how they feel about it. We get to check whether they give the money back or not. So we have no return so far. And we can point a camera back at the person with the product or just the product and read data or signal. It's actually signal, which gets converted into data or meaning, off the product to tell not actually us, but us and the AI how well it did. What's the next product of the mind?
Now,
Does that make any sense?
It
all?
makes total
Hopefully.
sense. I mean, when you talk about the way you see how products should be created, it's more like a general purpose approach. When and why did you choose to demonstrate this?
Oh, I chose fashion. So I'm coming from the architect world. Well, the thing about and I think architecture is massively important and it affects everything about you. I'm truly an architect, in a sense. But the thing is, we live in a time that's kind of a narcissistic age where everybody's trying to self-improve and everybody has a phone and everything is right now, specifically now, it's a time where the philosophical groundwork of who we are is changing a lot, because it's like, am I the picture on the screen or am I me and all this stuff? So clothes becomes really interesting with respect to a cultural context, right? Cultural context, and I want to make money now, right? I want to change the world, but I also want to make money. that point in time I was 40, and I've had it with being poor, and it's time to figure out how to make money in an effective way. But how can I do this? So fashion was the cultural context, which made a lot of sense to me in which to operate. Also because fashion is mind-blowingly stupid right now. It's just like, it's incredible, right?
What's so stupid? What's the most stupid thing
Well,
about
it's
fashion?
like, well, they sell 3% of all apparel goes in the garbage, or
That's stupid.
I mean, yeah, and even that, the other 60% of it's going to go in the garbage too, and probably the ocean. So like, just like, I don't want to get on Adidas's bad side or anything, but just like to call like scraping, like to make plastic shoes and go in the ocean, and then build nets to take the plastic shoes out of the ocean and then make them back into more plastic shoes. You just think this is the most stupid humanity has become so far.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Agreed.
That's the best solution. I'm going to shit in I'm going to clean it up. Like, don't shit in the kitchen. Yeah, it's just really that easy. Oh, sorry. Don't. My metaphor's going to be gross, but that's literally how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So, and then just with respect to the potential to make my point about how things could be built is very ripe there, because when you're using this kind of understanding of technology to make things, you can actually make things for free. It looks like nature. If you understand what you need to build, and you build only the resources you need to build it, right? And you make sure those resources that you use to build it, you can turn back into other things like new product or plants or something else. That world is possible, and we should be living in that world, right? So I think fashion is morally a really good place to act, and financially it's a really good place to act, because that industry hasn't changed since Henry Ford. Like, so it's a wonderful place to operate. It's 2 trillion euros. It's just on the dock to pull and just profit. It's just sitting there. So why wouldn't I do that? Sneakers, because it's small enough. So machines, the bigger a machine is, the more expensive the machine is, but they have basically the same precision. So sneakers is great because it's small enough that I can do a startup and afford the machines. If I would have done sweatshirts or jeans or something, I would have needed 4 times more budget for the same project.
How big is the machine for sneakers?
I don't know.
Like
It's
Okay. By the way,
meters.
that little thing on the
we will
thing,
make some pictures.
we're gonna
for
have to
our
blur it
listeners.
out though, because that's trade secret. Sorry.
Okay.
We look at it later.
Yeah, we look at it.
There's some things that we're gonna have to blur out because it's super trade secret that needs to be patented.
Yeah.
But to the right of the trade secret,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. There's a little blue CNC machine. We paid 6,000 euros for, and then upgraded the cards another 6,000 or 7,000, and that's the beating heart. 6,000 euros.
Okay, cool.
How easy or difficult is it to make a well-built sneaker? I mean, what's the hardest part of being of building a sneaker?
That depends on the side you're coming at it from.
Yeah.
From our side, the hardest part of building a sneaker is knowing how to build your query loop so the AI really understands what you need it to do. That's the hardest part for us. The hardest part for the other world making sneakers is to make something that's reliable enough to deal with all of the unexpected things that's going to happen to it, because you don't know what the use case is, right? So just the fact that in our case, we know exactly how the foot's going to move because it's built for a foot. So you really have a very clear understanding of the stresses that are going to happen on it. In the case of Adidas, they don't know that. So they have to, all their detailing has to be much more robust. And more generalist. So in terms of design, the more specific, like technical design, engineering design,
I mean,
the more specific you know about the load that's going to go across the bridge, the less resources you can invest in that bridge, because you can build exactly for there's a place with no tornadoes, no hurricanes, no whatever. There's only going to be one truck that doesn't cross it ever, right? That bridge is literally like 50 times lighter than the normal bridges we're used to, because just that, right? So AI allows you to do that.
What's the kind of customization you allow today?
Today the only thing we do at this moment in time.
Size. Oh, what is it?
Colors.
Colors of the top, color of the bottom, and size, but it's a replacement of size. So you replace the size function in the normal product equation with AI, looks at the feet, and by understanding physiology, turns it into an understanding of movement. It's scaled in time and space against that person's physiology, which is turned into an understanding of space, which is the skin, which is kind of weird and way too for this. which is then converted into a sneaker and a build and detailing and all that. At this point in time, there's only one style. The thing that's going to happen next, like literally next in the next funding round, I'm going to take, because the AI, or at least I have to be careful, my understanding of AI and how to make generative AI work for you, have to be, it's like teaching. It's pedagogy. You have to be very clear about what you want to do first, and you have to build on what you know already, right? You can't throw somebody in a tennis game that's never held a racket, right? Start with a racket. This is a racket. This is a ball, right? Ting, 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 ting. That's how you do it. That's how you learn how to play tennis. In this case, fashion, it's anatomy and physiology. You cannot do fashion without understanding anatomy, physiology, perceptual fit. Start there.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, what the thing can do is make the most comfortable thing you've ever had on your body, because it doesn't pinch anywhere and you can move around as you want to.
Yeah.
Finish.
Nice.
The next step on top of that baseline, now we're ready to start to play tennis, which I'm super excited about. Now we can actually go train for perception of self. So do you want to wear this design? Do you want to wear this design? Do you want to wear this interpolation between these two designs? So the next thing is coming is the design space, which is a 9-vector space, where on this sneaker, which we can build here, we can change the design in 9 different directions: high top, low top, materiality, thickness of sole below, sole above, permeability. And so we have a little video which we need to show you guys so you can see that and take and explain it, which we build, which is quite strange because it just shows, starting with what we build, how it can propagate in the next thing, and it's just insane.
And the AI would figure out what the perfect thickness of sole would be for me, because I wouldn't have a strong opinion on that. When I want to have a comfy shoe, I wouldn't know if it needs to be thicker or even thinner.
Yes.
But your system will tell me what the perfect shoe is.
In the end, we will propose. So it's for this to work, you're doing 2 things at the same time.
Yeah.
But like humans, AI is smart, right? Or it can be made smart. So there's the object of the mind, right? That the person wants to buy, the communication they need to see, and the thing itself, right? All of those, which you can query to see, did the person like it or not? What did it work? Did the feet hurt, right? And you can build all of that into a query loop.
Yeah, this query loop is
so important. You can say, so we could get you to come to a web page where we say, can we access your, can we access your LinkedIn feed, WhatsApp feed, or whatever? Yeah. And you say yes or no. And if yes, we can look at like your friends and what you like, right? Yeah. And then we can make proposals based on that. Or you can say no, and you can just say describe a shoe you like, right? And then I think in about 4 or 5 hits. Of like this, same as ChatGPT, things like that, except for you're describing reality and not pretend. In 4 or 5 hits, you should be able to get down to what you actually want. Okay. And you can just empathetically say, would you want this? And almost, but if the sole would be thicker, maybe, and by the time you're on thicker, maybe it's like sock. Yeah. And then you say, yes. Okay. And every single time you have that success, you're training back to understand what humans actually are. Yeah. I see. It's a query machine. Yeah. It's to understand human behavior.
But how does the buying a shoe at your website looks like what the customer needs to do to get a proper shoe?
Right now, to get the most amazingly fitting shoe that ever existed, you have to go to our app, which is only on iPhone.
Okay.
You have to download this app, and you have to suffer for about 45 minutes to learn how to use the app, because it makes the person do all of the work.
Great experience. Really?
It's horrid. I don't know if you guys have tried it. It's really bad user experience, because then that's one of the other things that we'll do in the next rounds is make that so it's like 15 seconds and that's it. Yeah. So in the end game, same. You just point a camera at your body with a scaler somewhere, so a piece of paper or a credit card or something, because it makes it very robust. Yeah. And that will be pretty painless, and then we'll get the data. Right now, you have to run the app, and it's really. We can talk about that in a second, why it's so bad. And then that's it. You're done. You pay money and you get the sneaker.
Okay.
And when the system is up to speed and running and there's no backlog, it takes a day.
A day to make the shoe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
4 hours labor, 1 day curing time and machine. Oh, and the other thing is that once you've made a pair of shoes, that's the last time you need to measure. Then you can just build the next build off of just looking at the old sneakers.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking of this feedback cycle really, because when
That's the fun part.
it's the fun part, I guess so, and it's the critical part. And
Totally.
would I be able to report back if the shoe fits after a week or after a month, and how
Absolutely.
it feels and all that, and what's like the frequency that you
For us, probably after the first day after a person tries it is pretty important.
Mhm.
Just for
So, like, the
understanding what they
first
want. That first
feel.
fit.
Mhm.
We actually and we will continue to do that.
Mhm.
I actually kind of built a camera crew
Mhm.
for our own internal purposes, for specific customers that we decide this is important. We actually shooted them with this. I call it the wildebeest crew, because you want to be able to see exactly how they respond. We get the facial expression
Mhm.
about how they're responding in a way that's not confrontational. So it's like you want to be there, but you don't want them to know about you. So we actually built this way of going with a remote, like a camera and a little boom with one of these shotgun mics,
Mhm.
so you can kind of record what's happening emotionally to the person, just because that's really important to understand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Don't like, right?
Yeah.
You're training on things, right? So
Yeah.
and the next one would be after 3 or 4 months to see if they actually, even if they don't wear it, why,
Okay.
right? And then the next one is the why, where you can just physically track, you just physically
Yeah.
look at the good and not.
The possibility to send the worn shoe back to you, so you can maybe
Absolutely.
analyze my walking pattern. Because
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
think of like soles I have in
Ex-
my shoes, when I wear
exactly.
them for a year, you can
Exactly.
basically see
So
patterns.
the thing about nature,
Yeah.
right? And this is really, I hope we're staying on topic well enough. But the thing about nature is like detective,
Yeah.
right? A crime was committed.
Mhm.
If the detective is good enough,
Mhm.
there's enough evidence there that the detective can figure out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can put it all together,
Mhm.
because the world is like that.
Mhm.
The world existed and things happened, and you go back at it. So in terms of digital technology, the world can also be your hard drive.
Mhm.
You can record what happened on the thing.
Mhm.
You can skip digital twins,
Mhm.
right? You can skip sensors, right? You can just make a thing that's been passively built to tell you what you want to know.
Mhm.
Put it in the world. It's a tracking device. It doesn't have to be keyed to a server. It just has to exist,
Mhm.
right? So that's what this thing is. So at the end, we want it back, which is also important to meet the economics,
Yeah.
right? Because we want to build things because we put you paid us, we made something,
Mhm.
but we bought the materials,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So we want the materials back.
Are you going to recycle them?
Totally, we do already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a box
What?
there's a box that's things made out of silicone and leather.
Uh-huh.
And in the shop there is a box of silicone and leather.
Yeah.
Old shoes and rests,
Yeah.
silicone leather. They get stripped out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
The sneaker is made out of silicone leather. That's by design. We started like that. It was like, I will make this now circular, but not in the old circular, like just
Yeah.
like clean.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Sort of. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? It's not. There's no way. There is waste, but you want to make it as minimal as possible.
Mhm.
And that comes back to the difference between Nike and Adidas. For a generalist case,
Mhm.
when you're building for a specific case with AI, if you understand the problem well enough,
Mhm.
you can make, so this sneaker, you can pull it apart by hand,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? You can literally just debone a sandwich. Comes apart. In the case of using it as a sneaker, it never fails. But as soon as you need to strip it, it comes apart.
Yeah.
You can do that. You know, you're using AI for a very specific problem.
Yeah.
An Adidas sneaker doesn't ever come apart, ever. It's not happening.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah. I see. I mean,
Does that make sense?
it
So
totally makes sense, because on your website you said you contribute to less waste,
yes.
which is a huge problem with fashion, of course. And therefore I was thinking about the way you should recycle the materials of your shoe, because when I think of a custom built sneaker,
Mhm.
it's probably hard to sell to another person, because it's so custom made for my.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want you to do that.
Okay, so the end of
Stick a
life
dollar
would,
bill.
would
You don't
really
need
not
to
be putting it on eBay, but
give it
shipping it
back to
back
us.
to you, and then
Why would we want? I mean,
purchase the
in
next
terms
one.
of it's that. But this is all empowered because you can use AI to do these kinds of things. Just understand a person,
Yeah.
a person at a time.
Yeah.
at scale.
Mhm.
You can do this. So once you can do this, why in God's name would you want that person to sell their leftover good from you to someone else? You don't want that secondary stream. It makes everything hard to understand about your market.
And it's also the shoe which is created for you,
And
for your
shoe is
person, and
created
not
for you.
for everyone
And I
else.
want the materials back as a company because I know those materials. I know the properties of those materials. It's clean.
How much?
It's like the government, the Treasury of the United States doesn't want people using dollar bills or anything other than dollar bills, right? Finish. Once it can't be functioning as a dollar bill anymore, it's coming
Send it
back to
back.
us and strip it and make another one.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a kind of current.
Yeah, I totally get it. And
So-
how much percentage of the sneaker can you really reuse? I mean,
Oh,
is there
right
any-
now, pretty much upper 90s, let's say.
Well, that's pretty
It's
good.
silicone and
So
leather, which
what you cannot
which is-
reuse?
What?
What you cannot reuse?
There's a piece of plastic in the front, which would be pretty tricky. There's a reinforcement plastic in the front, which is pretty tricky. The laces, by the time the laces are
Yeah, they will.
done, I don't think there's that much fiber in it that's useful. The rest is pretty much can be used, not at the same level of state, but the silicone silicone is really has some benefits and weaknesses. One of the good things of silicone is it's pretty easy to reconvert into clean silicone. And leather is a very leather. By the way, we came to leather because our level of technology is by far the lowest CO2 footprint that we can do now. Future music, we can go to plant-based and vegan, but plant-based stuff doesn't last that long. You get into a big mess of logistics sending and going in. Anyway, so the math works better with leather. That's where it is.
Yeah.
Leather, you can the structure of leather is extremely robust. You can strip it and make actually other kinds of leather out of old leather. So it's
And let's talk about your Gen AI for a moment. Like for example, I'm getting older and my taste changes. Like how your AI can adopt, my changing taste and the shoes with the time. So what do you think? Is it
So
possible?
that's like not our AI today, but our AI and AI constellation in the future. You're going to be looking at you as a customer against our other understanding of people. That, like aging is something that happens to everyone. So that's a very consistent phenomenon. Right? As people age, their bodies change in this way. As people age, they tend to become less physically dynamic. Those kinds of things are all things that you can query against the population, and then you will key that to things that we understanding about you just by looking at how your body has developed by using products. And then there'll be things that we maybe just ask you just because we want to know. Like, by the way, for this, you could literally do this. By the way, you just ordered this sweatshirt. We run it through. And this is all automated. This is not a human, but like Amazon, but better, right?
Yeah.
By the way, before we actually finish the bells and whistles and emit this thing, did you want picture this like this or picture this like this? Or you're coming into this season, should we adjust it slightly to this color? So you can build all these really cool query tools into it to figure out, okay, this is happening to this person at this point in their life. Build for them like this, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can also, and this is where it gets weird and you have to really work it out, and we're still working on it. You can also key this to all the things that everybody else's digital AI knows about you. And you have to be really careful that you don't cross moral grounds, because now we're keying an object to persons. Like all that data can be plugged into a Smith, and you have to make sure that we build this in a way that the consumer understands what they're asking for and is clearly gated, so it can only be used by an AI to make better things for them, not to like know that this person's leg's gonna break. Here I can, it can become nefarious, which we don't want to do.
And another thought I had, because like I was thinking about scaling, like the scalability of your business.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like all the digital stuff is scalable, but when you, for example, get shoes back with the time, so like I don't know, does it scale somehow?
So we got this question a lot with respect to returns, right? We were supposed to have returns, and I was told in the beginning, you're insane because there's no way you can make a one-to-one business because you'll get so many returns. It's just not possible. And I know all of the roadkill bad case. We don't get any returns. Turns out statistically, it's not a problem, right? Period. But it is a problem with respect to logistical problem with respect to production, logistics, how to get this stuff to the people and how to get it back. But that looks like DHL. That doesn't look like production as we know it, right? So scaling is actually a question of who's going to be responsible for the logistics of a certain region, right? And how are we going to divide up that pie? I think probably short term, it's going to look more like a franchise. We're actually working on building a franchise right now because it's so easy, it's so clear, right? So it probably looks more like franchise because actually the AI is doing most, the system, the platform is doing the hard work. And you gotta emit this stuff in place and get it done and deal with the legalities of that context. So we'll probably franchise it out, and then scaling just kind of takes care of itself. It doesn't mean that making franchises is not a business that doesn't require work. It requires a tremendous amount of work to build those kinds of relationships, but it's not like building factories. It's like installing production units
in a store somewhere,
in a store or in a back
because your
garage
machines
or
are very
whatever.
small, and you can.
The materiality of production, this industry making, and this is one of like with respect to the digital world. What's going to happen to the digital world, right? Well, it's something like what people kind of in their minds think of as 3D printing, except way more complex, actually way more easy, right? Because you can chain multiple machines together with AI, right? They can just hand off, right? So the future world, this is going to get freaky in for a second. This whole thing about robots, the whole thing in the news, Elon Musk, who, by the way, I think he's very rich, but I don't think he's a genius, right? Because of specifically this. Are you kidding me? It's not going to be the robot factory replaces the human workforce. It's going to be like upside down cockroaches, right? With like these really strange armatures that are passing one thing to the next. And these other machines, which are very basic, super simple, super cheap, very repetitive, robust as hell, doing things, right? And they're going to be in like 20 square meters. That's going to be like the jeans. That's going to be the teacups, right? And that's just going to get emitted from these machines that make stuff, right? But it's not going to be human, right? It's not going to look like this. That doesn't make any sense. The machine is way too complex. We are absolutely insanely complex and beautiful, right? There's no reason you need to make that to pass a ball from place to one point A to point B.
Totally agree.
It's totally off. Oh,
No.
Scaling is just having, with respect to the digital world, what's going to happen real fast, not just us, right? What's going to happen real fast is AI is going to be able to understand and build physical goods for the world insanely cheap. So the whole logistics of world trade as we know it today is about to completely fundamentally change.
That's also my thought now. So, like, do you think that we will own such kind of machines privately in the future? So, like, I don't go out to shop to buy shoes or something.
I think it's me personally, I think it's highly unlikely because doesn't mean the machines are not sophisticated. The machines are sophisticated. And they do have a price. It's just that they're capable of producing a very broad range of goods, like insanely broad range of goods in the same machine, right? But you don't really have that many goods you need to build. So why would you have that level of complexity? But the price of very, very, very well-made goods that are made for you is going to absolutely implode. That's for sure.
What is the next best product you can think of after the sneaker to apply this kind of process?
We're looking at a joint venture for sweaters.
Okay. Why sweaters?
Because high value, the value comes from materiality.
Yeah.
And so the materiality in the sweater is very, very critical.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's not from the AI. So it's easy that you can just bring that in. And the next thing the first thing that's very important with the sweater is the fit and the materiality. Right? So we can do this thing, which is really made to prove, is to say, look, right? We're going to fit you perfectly.
Like
this sweater is going to look like this on you.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Right? Now, so you can do the price range. Would you like the 15-euro variant or the 350 euro? And this is the difference.
And they both fit equally perfect.
Well, same fit.
Yeah.
Which one do you want?
Yeah.
Just because I want to train the AI to know, what do people really want? What happens to the price point? I mean, you can have the 15 euro like nothing, or you can have like perfect merino medical, bio from an island in Scotland, and it's just like, the materiality, delicious. Which one? Empathy, like I don't know. I don't know. I tend to go with the 150, but at the same time, I tend to only get that.
Depends on the situation of the person. So
exactly.
it changed with the time. Also,
exactly.
As a student, to take the 15 euro version, and
Or, to me, it sounds so convincing that this will be the direction fashion is heading towards. How are the larger brands now keeping up with this development? What is your perspective on this?
Or what they are
So
changing.
I'm a startup that's like, by the way, I'm a startup that's we're going into a funding round, right? We haven't had any impact at all on the market. We just came out and said that we were AI in February last year. This is all very new. I think that from my perspective, from my seat, I think they're in grave danger. I don't think they're. I think that the ramifications of AI and how it works are very, very hard for people to understand. And I think that moving ahead across all industries, I think it's going to be very, very hard for the C-suites. I consistently deal with this all the time. I talk to these guys, and they really struggle to understand what the hell I'm saying. Right? I think the C-suites are going to really struggle to understand what the hell is happening to their world, and the way that and you have to, again, empathy. These are people that have built their entire empire on doing business in a way that's been consistent for pretty much the last, I don't know, since World War I. Right? It's been like that. Like a good business looks like this, right? It has these attributes, traction, gain per unit, gain per production run, market segment, all these key words business is, like the Warren Buffett of like, this is a good business where this isn't. That's no longer true. From like yesterday till next 20 years, like this, that's totally different. So I think the C-suites, not just fashion, are going to have a really hard time to adjust. And I think what they're trying to do is incremental, and they're trying to like cushion it, and like you can see it with Mercedes-Benz. Like they're not redoing their production line; they're trying to automate production line as it was before. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like really, if those robots from Elon Musk are your solution, you're in big trouble, really big trouble. It doesn't look like that from my perspective. So I think with the fashion industry, they're probably the most insulated, and they're probably the least aware of how bad it is. Other than that, like I don't know how savvy your audience is, but like what are they called? There's a Esprit. I think it's Esprit.
Esprit,
Yeah, they went bankrupt last year.
Yeah.
It's a really strong brand. It's been around for forever, right?
Yeah, it is.
And the business model is so brittle, right? It's so incapable of dealing with a couple of bad years that brand was able to put itself in so much debt that they weren't able to extricate the brand and use it again. That's a lot of lost money. I mean, it's just insane because that brand, I have, literally me personally, because I haven't made them yet on my own system, I use their boxer shorts. They're my favorites. Like it's been that way forever. And suddenly they went bankrupt. And I got to find, that's how strong their brand was. And they went, they're gone. Right? So it's really interesting because that's happening. At the same time, you don't see the industry doing anything real to change itself other than to try and adapt somehow and meet the sustainability metrics. And you're like, dude, the sustainability metrics for a company that's actually existing in the next world don't mean anything. If you're spending material and you're not getting it back, you're a moron. Sorry, I tend to speak poorly. But even like cars like this, like if the steel that they're putting in is of a certain value, it costs money. You know what it is. You should be wanting it back.
Yeah.
Obviously. It's still the same steel. It's got the same fuse. It's got the same amount of nickel or whatever you put in. You know what it is. Why wouldn't you want it back?
Yeah, definitely. Any more messages you want to be sending?
I think fundamental in the world that we're living in is this understanding that Turing was right, except when he missed, you can put a question in the tape, right? And that when you can put a question, you can put a question mark in the tape, the task, and send serious. And then you have to build a query loop. Query loops are the fundamentals of business now. How efficiently can you know what your customer wants, and how efficiently can you change to meet their needs? And that's a derivative, depending on which direction. It's like a differential of a differential or a derivative of a derivative. Pick your point. But it's like that's possible in quasi real time today. That's in the basic economics. That's what it's possible to do that. It's not calculating, it's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
If you calculate it, you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you query, test, it can be done.
When you look at
that's
the fashion in like 3 years from now, what will have changed already through the innovation you're driving? Everything that's happening.
Probably in 3 years from now, the crazy talk that I just did will be visible in maybe 4 or 5 joint ventures, which we will have built and have addressed the market by then.
Yeah.
Our AI platform on that will be probably pretty good. Our ability to fund will be insane. And the industry will be holy shit. And probably a bunch of people will be listening to this podcast going, what the hell did that guy say? Because it will probably be meaningful. Right now, I don't know. We'll probably 20 people are like, what is he saying? But that would be my projection from 3 years from now.
I wish you the best of luck, William.
If that's true, everything.
Okay, cool. Thank you for being here and our guest on our podcast.
Yeah, thanks.
Telling all the cool stories and also this I don't know, the magic behind an AI making shoes and fashion stuff. So thanks very much.
2100, der Podcast von Railslove, der in die digitale Zukunft blickt. Willkommen im Jahr 2100.